Did you know that Clive Barker only directed three movies? Hellraiser, Nightbreed, and Lord of Illusion. Zzz. And I gotta say, Lord of Illusions is extremely underrated. And if you haven't seen it, I highly suggest watching it. And by the way, welcome to Horror Movie Massacre. As I said, welcome to Horror Movie Massacre. This is I'm Razor, not this is Razor. And if you're familiar with the Horror Syndicate, you've known that we've had numerous shows on this channel. Which, if you haven't seen some of them, that's okay. All you got to do is hit that subscribe button, yeah, and become a follower of the Horror Syndicate on YouTube or Facebook. And we are getting closer and closer to that 500, or not 500, damn, that'd be amazing, 55,000 follower mark on Facebook. And we just passed over 1,500 on YouTube, which is awesome. I really appreciate that. This is our second to last year, our penultimate episode of the Horror Syndicate's Horror Movie Massacre. And if you've been following us throughout the year and late last year when we started the show, and it had another name, we usually do a franchise of a film, discuss the things we like, the things that we don't like, show off our slash score, and then of course that's it. That's the show. And then, well, actually, we rank them after we're done talking about each movie. So for the month of December, we decided to break off and do four movies that, for the most part, don't have anything to do with each other. Like we did, well, An American Werewolf in London, An American Werewolf in Paris, kind of a movie with a sequel, and kind of two separate movies that just have to do with werewolves in London, Europe. But tonight we're doing Clive Barker's final film that he directed. And next week we'll be doing a film called Life Force, which is directed by Toby Hooper. And I have to say, in my opinion, between Lord of Illusions and I always forget them. Let's like Hellraiser Bloodline. I always say Bloodlines. Lord of Illusion. I always say Lord of Illusion, even though it's really Lord of Illusions, or as Seth will call it probably every single time, Clive Barker's Lord of Illusions. But anyway, Life Force and Clive Barker's Lord of Illusions are both highly underrated and I believe highly underseen films. And before we get started and I bring Seth in, I just want to apologize. When I set this episode up, it was set for 8 a.m. this morning, and to schedule to go up then, and I had to redo the whole thing. So Sean, I'm sure you had plenty of comments. I apologize. I had to delete that because I couldn't even get into into this. So we are doing Lord of Illusions, Clive Barker's final film of his three movies. So in a way, he's got a kind of a fun trilogy if you think about it. You've got his Hellraiser film, which is brilliant, kind of a groundbreaking horror film. Nightbreed, not a huge fan. I know Seth loves it. And Lord of Illusions, which I do believe I feel like it could have gone very far if it was received well. So let's bring in Seth and find out what he has to say, and hopefully he's got a breakdown for us of what the story is. Seth, how you doing, my friend?
Doing okay.
Maybe not.
I didn't get a chance to rewatch it before tonight's show, so
That's okay. How well do you remember it?
I'm going by memory. I've seen
Yeah.
it like 4 to 5 times. So
It's been a wild last couple months for me. Like I watch a lot of horror movies and I keep track of them. And I just looked at it the other day and I've watched two since October, and normally it's more like 20 or more. I'm so behind for 2023 because we're gonna do a show is if discourse keeps going on the top 25 or whatever you have, yeah, of 2023, and I'm like way behind. My job is killing me. I think it's actually killing me. But we won't spend too long on this one because this is one that I don't want to spoil much. It's streaming on Max right now, and I absolutely think it's worth watching. Unfortunately, the Blu-ray, which Scream Factory released 5 or 6 years ago, is out of print, so it'd be hard to get a copy. But at least it is on Max, and there's a couple things about this movie that I want to bring up immediately. This is not the preferred cut for Clive Barker, and this is not the first time that this has happened. Nightbreed also has like 3 or 4 different cuts. This has 2 different cuts. The Clive Barker said his director's cut's about an hour and 21 minutes, I think, or an hour and 41 minutes. No, I'm sorry, 121 minutes or 141 minutes. I can't remember exactly the number. I remember it's something one, but anyway, I digress. But yeah, this either way, I think if you check out this movie on Max, I think you'll be very happy with this movie. Seth, based on your memory, do you remember? Could you tell the lovely viewers what this one's about?
Ooh. Well, I know that it starts off in the past. There's a man, I believe his name is Nix,
Mm-hmm.
and he's also known as the Purifier. And he runs this cult group, and he does magic and stuff like that. And he has a little girl kidnapped, and another magician who is sort of like someone that Nick's kind of looks on as like a protege of sorts. A guy named Swan um, arrives with a few others to stop Nick's, and they eventually I forget what how they phrased it, but they put like this special device on Nix's face and buried him
I think it's called the
to contain
Silencer or
him.
something like that.
Yeah, and then we jump to 13 years later, and we meet Harry Demore, a
Mm.
private investigator who deals with cult like stuff all the time. He takes a job in LA, and the person that he's tracking, a simple job, happens to kind of stumble across a sort of a crime scene that involves this whole thing with the magicians, and Harry kind of gets pulled into it from there, and then it gets all sorts of twists and turns, and um, yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty much what it is. And then later on, you find out that the sacrifice is Famke Jensen, who's married to Swan. From Yeah, and um, eventually we do get to see Nick's back. And the cool thing about him coming back is his face is so gnarly from the mask itself. It's a great makeup. So some of the things we're going to talk about, really, we're not going to get too far into the story because, again, by the way, anybody who's new and messages this to the Horror Syndicate, please fucking stop because I'm not going to give anybody a horror movie. This is not them asking for a suggestion. This is asking me to give them a movie. I get these messages constantly through the Horror Syndicate Facebook page. I do not have movies to give you. Please stop doing it. I know that it's not somebody from the United States of America, and I think I understand, but we do not give horror movies away for free. If you want to see this movie, if this is in fact a suggestion, this is the movie I'm suggesting, Lord of Illusions. Fuck. Like the last 3 days, all kinds of messages from people from all kinds of different countries asking me to give them horror movies. It's like, or ask Horror Syndicate to give them horror movies. Like, fuck, please stop. I have to ban them. Every single one of them. Sorry, I just had to say that. But we're gonna talk about pros and cons of why to see this tonight and give our slash scores. Mostly because This is one that I don't want. Like An American Werewolf in London's widely seen. American Werewolf in Paris, for the most part, has been widely seen. This and Life Force are not. So we're gonna try to do this without any kind of spoilers, because I want people to get on. If you got Max or HBO Max or whatever you call it, I want you to get on there and check it out. It's definitely worth watching. And there are people that have watched it, and I'll just go ahead and throw it out there. The score for our 5-star ranking system for our followers is actually pretty decent, I thought, which is 78%. That's Harry Demore, by the way. One of the things I wanted to kind of discuss, and I know that you haven't seen this recently. I probably have seen it most recently. He kind of reminds, and it's he kind of reminds me of an Indiana Jones almost in a way. You know, he's a detective. It's kind of a noir movie, but he's got this. This could be, they could have made this franchise kind of like an Indian. It could have been Harry Demore and the Lord of Illusions, or something like that, because he kind of like he gets thrown in these situations for the most part, and he's a man doing his job like Indiana Jones, and he has to go from New York City to L.A., and he's just thrown into this world. You know what I'm saying? He just, like, thinking about it, it reminds me of Indiana Jones in a way. How fun would that have been? Scott Bakula, Harry Demore, and his like trilogy of movies. It would have been so great. Of course, in the novels, which you've read, I believe, Harry Demore does end up in hell, right? So it would have been cool to end that way. Now, did you read the novel to this, which I think was the
Yeah.
last illusion? I think.
The Last Illusion. I read it. I think it came. It's the I got this volume of I think it was with Cabal, the story that inspired Nightbreed,
Hmm.
and I think The Last Illusion is in that, and I read it when I first got that book. But it's been a while, and but the funny thing is like every time when I do get to Clive's books and there's a story with Harry, I
Hmm.
always picture Scott Bakula.
Yeah, I mean, how can you not? Like, I've never read the books, full disclosure, but like, I think I would picture Scott Bakula. So, first of all, I think Scott Bakula is kind of an underrated actor. I mean, of course, he was in
Yeah,
Quantum Leap and a few other things here and there, but like, why wasn't he bigger than he actually was? Like, I've always everything I've ever seen him in, I'm like, this guy fucking shines on screen. He's a good actor, and as Harry Demore, like, I do kind of get, because he goes toe to toe with some of the things in this and kind of gets thrown around, but gets right back up. That's another reason why he reminds me of Indiana Jones a little bit. So next time you do watch it, think about that. Like, this is an Indiana Jones type story, but kind of like a noir setting with magicians and stuff. Because like the last time I watched it, I'm sitting there like, this really says Indiana Jones for some reason to me. And Bakula
it's
does
like
a great
Indiana
job.
Jones meets John Constantine.
Yeah, yeah, pretty much. But a couple of things I do want to touch on, is the cast. You get Kevin O'Connor, from people might remember him from mostly from The Mummy, I would say, as Benny. He is great in
Mhm.
this, in my opinion. Um, Bamka Jensen's in it. I can never say she's great because something off about her for me. I don't. What do you think?
I will say that, especially growing up, I was very fond of her. After seeing
You pervert.
after seeing Goldeneye,
Yeah,
and
Golden. Yep.
then she was Jean Grey, and then she was also in
Hmm.
The Faculty, and
Yeah.
so yeah, I had
This this was about her when she really started to take off. I mean, she's very attractive, and
yeah.
she's okay. But I think she has gotten better with age as far as her acting chops, which hopefully you do. Because I mean, anything you
Oh
do over a certain amount of time, you get better, right? What are you gonna say?
yeah, and then she was also in Deep Rising, which also had uh the guy that played Benny from The Mummy. You just said his name.
Connor. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
She has. I thought she was really fun in Deep Rising. She had a
Yeah,
quirky
I mean, she gets some
performance.
fun roles because her role in Goldeneye was amazing. I mean,
My favorite
she was,
hench.
yeah, yeah, pretty much. And then of course Daniel von Bargen as Nix is like, dude, he is perfect in this movie. Like
Yeah.
seriously, like that's the one takeaway from this, other than the really bad CG effects, which we'll get to. He's one of the best. Like, first of all, I know him from Seinfeld, watching Seinfeld all these years. You know, as one of George's bosses, and it was so when I saw him pop up, I'm like, this guy is this powerful cult leader. You know, like, and I'm watching, I was like, holy shit, I believe it. You know what I'm saying? Like, and then of course, the end with him and the great makeup job that they did in Third Eye and all that stuff. It's like, holy shit, man, I see him in a completely different light. Also, he was in Super Troopers.
Yeah.
You know, it's like it
Yeah.
was at first it was hard to differentiate him from that to this. But yeah, he really kind of changed the way I perceived him as an actor. It really showed that he's a really good actor. I think he died recently, didn't he? Oh no, that was
Yeah.
2015. I
A
just
few
looked.
years ago. Yeah.
But yeah, he's kind of a good character actor, and he did a great job in this. But I mean, the story mostly centers around Harry D'Amore and his investigation, and there are some really bad CG effects. I mean, we're talking early '90s Lawnmower Man looking stuff, which for
Yeah.
me, seeing it, I watched it in the '90s, and then it took me another 15, 20 years to see it again. And watching it, I think it was when I got my Scream Factory Blu-ray. It was like, oof, this did not hold up. So, what do you think of the effects? Because they are kind of Lawnmower Man-ish.
Oh, totally. But I mean, it's really just one scene, right? Isn't it?
Yeah, but still, it's still hard to watch that scene. It's like it looks like
Oh yeah.
something like a piece of paper's unfolding, right?
Yeah.
Right. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like it's so weird. But one good thing for you effects hounds out there, the practical effects are pretty awesome in this
Hmm.
movie. Like when the people are trapped in the desert floor, I mean, it looks pretty fucking legit and painful.
Yeah.
There's one weird Ghostbuster esque moment in the movie. But for the most part, I think other than the effects that I was talking about, CG effects that kind of make you stop for a second, like oh, the practical effects. I mean, not even just the effects, but some of the physical stunts that they were doing. It really
Yeah.
like it's this sometimes feels like Clive Barker's most ambitious movie in my mind, like with some of the things he was doing in a lot of different locations. Also, where Hellraiser it was kind of like one location essentially, and Nightbreed was kind of too. I mean, you had the little town, and then Midian, I think, was the name of the
Midian.
underworld.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. So like this one was a kind of like a more of a like Indiana Jones again. I keep going back to Indiana Jones, but I don't know. What do you think about all this?
Um. I still think I would still say Nightbreed is his most ambitious film. Um. Because of the scope. I mean, yeah, because it's mostly Midian, but like Midian is pretty big, and then like all the different uh, creature designs and makeup is it's really cool stuff. I will say that Lord of Illusions is his most maybe underseen film, um, which is kind of a shame. I think that he only did three because I mean he's got a good visual style that kind of matches his writing style, and yeah, I think it's a very underseen movie. I remember because I didn't see this for the first time until like maybe 2018 or 2019. But I remember when I was younger, like there was always like not always, but like I had comic books and on the on the back covers they had like movie posters on them, and I remember Lord of Illusions. So it was kind of like a catchy title for me. And then I forgot about it. And then one day I was like kind of going through Tubi and it was on there. And I watched it and I really liked it. Yeah. I forget what the rest of your question was.
It's okay. I just found somebody new I need to unfriend. His name's Wayne Smith. So I put up a post that says I love comics, and I said, if you love comics, make the same post. He says, why? I love comics, but why should I make the same post? What would that accomplish? Fuck yourself, Wayne Smith. It's just an expression to say that you love comics, you dickface. God. I fucking hate people sometimes. Instead of just doing that or leaving it alone, he had to ask why and waste his fucking time on that post. I fucking hate people sometimes. Why be a dick? Unfriended. Yeah. God. I just put just an expression of your love for comics. Do what you will, and thanks for your sour comment. Not sure why you had to do that, asshole. God. I'm gonna unfriend him now. That's how I am. If you're an ass, I'm just gonna unfriend you anymore. I just got out of a fucking toxic relationship with somebody, and it was as another man. Anyway, I don't need toxic people on my page. So anyway, that's why me and Sean aren't friends, right? No, I'm joking, Sean. Anyway, yeah, I mean, it's hard to really talk about a movie when you don't want to spoil it. You know, I think we went through the same thing with the 2022 Hellraiser movie. But I do think there's a lot here that needs to be said. It's just I don't want. I know this movie isn't very. We had 236 out of 54,000 people rate this movie, and we generally like see closer to 1,000 people rating movies, so it's kind of lower number, but it has a decent score. I absolutely think that this movie is worth anyone's time. It's a good movie.
It totally, and it's unique. It's got
unique.
It's got a good score. It's got a really good story. There's lots of twists and turns. Again, the makeup effects and some of the effects, you know, in the beginning and especially at the end are just really, really good. And you know, that's why I say, because I wanted to say when I was thinking about this movie today, I wanted to say that this is an underrated, but I think it's just underseen, and I think I would definitely recommend it, and that's why I'm totally fine with us like not going into too much detail because I don't want to. Because I feel like, you know, if you discover this for yourself, you know, you might actually enjoy it. But I mean, as long as you're, you know, into Clive Barker's stuff, I mean, he's got a very, you know, his stuff is very, how do I say, like hypersexualized, you know. He's got a, you know, he's got a very distinct style to him, and it shows not only in his writing but also in his abilities to direct.
I like one thing about Clive Barker that I like is he's low key. He's a low key director. You know, I remember one interview, and I put it in the title of this or the description of this video. It's like he calls himself a writer artist, which he is. Now I've never read any of his stuff, but I have seen a lot of his art, and he is one of the most talented people on earth, in my opinion, because he's created straight up worlds. You know, and he directed three movies, and all of them are great. I'm not even afraid to say that they're great. They're all great. Hellraiser is one of the best movies of the 1980s and of all time. Nightbreed, I think with maybe a bigger budget, and if I would have seen the full cut originally, and maybe Craig Sheffer bugs me as an actor overall. Something about him bugs me, and then I think we've kind of touched on this when we talk about Hellraiser 5. Huh? What?
Is it his face?
It's his face.
Is it his face?
He's got this stank face always, like he's always smelling something bad. Like you ever seen the movie The Program?
A long time ago.
So he plays the star quarterback at this college in the program, and he's got a drinking problem. He's got like he's a daredevil, likes to ride his motorcycle and scare girls and shit. Anyway, but he doesn't really he plays the part as a bad guy kind of in a way in that movie, but he's always looks like he's smelling something bad. And I'm not sure what the deal is with him. He's like, I can't even make the face. But even like I'm watching, I'm like, I like that movie, and I've seen a few movies with him, and there's just something about him. He always looks either in pain or like he just shit his pants, something. So, but I don't know. There's the cool thing about Nightbreed, and I think sometimes it's distracting, or all the creatures and how all they all. I think it really distracts from the story and what's going on, and not to mention there's the side plot of his doctor. It's Nightbreed's one of those ones that I don't like to watch very often because I'm not that into it. But it's one that like I have to be really in a mood to watch it. So this Lord of Illusions is probably my second favorite Clive Barker movie in that respect. So almost by default, really.
I mean, I absolutely love and adore Nightbreed. I get into like my periods of time where like I'm like super obsessed with it. So like I'll watch either the director's cut or the I have a rare Cabal cut Blu-ray that
Mm-hmm.
they did like a limited thing on. And then like I have the book. I just love it. I love the idea of there being like this like kind of like mini city with all these creatures who are but they're also like the protagonists of the story and the antagonists are the humans, all the cops. And I think I mean the final fight I think is awesome. And I love the idea too that you got mainly a creature feature, but you also have a slasher element in there with Decker. I think that's really cool. But I'm very partial to Hellraiser and Nightbreed. So of his directing efforts, Lord of Illusions is my least favorite of the three, but I don't say that in a bad way because I think all three are just awesome. And to Clive's credit too, I mean, even the movies he didn't direct that are based on his works, like Candyman or The Midnight Meat Train. Um, those are really good movies too.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I haven't seen Midnight Meat Train, but there are other Barker properties that have Candyman is one of my favorite movies of all
Yeah,
time. And in some respects, honestly, it might be a shade higher than Hellraiser. And I do love Hellraiser quite a bit, but something about uh, Bernard Rose and Tony Todd and Virginia Madsen's dude, Candyman is so good. And well, while
yeah.
Hellraiser has a great score as well, but Candyman's score always just like gives me the feels or something. I don't know. I love Candyman. We haven't done the Candyman movies, have we? Oof.
No, not a part of the show. I would recommend to you Midnight Meat Train. It
Yeah, I've
does
been
have
meaning
a
to.
CG issue,
Mm,
and like I've heard various sort of mixed responses to the way that the story kind of comes to an end. But I think it's worth watching. It's I think it's really the short story was really cool. The movie I think is had the potential of being better than the short story. It's just there's a couple elements with the effects I didn't care for, but
mm.
I do recommend that movie as well.
Yeah, I've been meaning to watch that one for a long time. Of course, we made a lot of jokes about that one in the past. Oh, Midnight Meat Train.
It's got a very
We all know what
porn
that
title,
means.
doesn't it?
It does, and but yeah, Clive Barker overall. I mean, as a creator, he's one of the best. And if you haven't seen Lord of Illusions, it's definitely one. It's kind of a slower paced movie with some great moments. Like I said, it's kind of got a noir feel. It's about a detective investigating a case essentially, and he gets
Yeah.
caught up in kind of a world of madness. And the movie does kind of keep getting crazier and crazier as it goes, which is great. Great effects as far as practical goes. Some good some good storytelling in this one, I think. Great acting too. Scott Bakula really does, holds a lot on his shoulders in this movie. He does fucking phenomenally.
Yeah.
So, kind of short episode, but let's get in our slash scores real fast. Seth, you gave this one an 85 overall, and I think it's worthy.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, I ding it for effects mostly. Um, there's the score I'm mixed on because like there's elements of the score that are really cool, especially like the opening scene, like during the opening
Mhm.
credits. Really, really cool. But then there's like moments in between in the movie where it's like I don't know, like 90s TV movie type music. So I'm mixed on the score. Entertainment value, I would say it's either between like a 6.5 or a 7 for me because I do really like this movie a lot, but it's not one that I do go back to quite often. But when I do, I'm in it for the whole time. And I watched the only cut I watch is the director's cut, so I don't really remember the theatrical very much anymore. Because as soon as I could, I got the Scream Factory Blu-ray, and I'm glad now that I did, since you mentioned that it's discontinued.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, I think it's got a good cast. It's got a good story. I think it's well directed. Um, it's if I remember correctly, the editing was good. The production design I thought was really good. Um, yeah, it's a creative movie and it's cool. And again, my third favorite Clive Barker directed film, but I don't mean that in a bad way. I just think it's a really good movie. It's just I just prefer his other two a little bit more, but I do recommend people check this movie out and give it a chance. And you may not like it, but at least give it a shot because I
Mhm.
think there's some really cool and valuable stuff in this movie.
I agree
So
with you.
85%.
Yeah, 85%. I like that. One thing I forgot to tell you, I think I told you about. I used to get this and In the Mouth of Madness mixed up because I rented them on the same night way back in the mid 90s. So I watched them on the same day. So I used to get the names. It's just like when I first saw Evil Dead and Dead Alive, and I watched those on the same day, and I would get them mixed up for a long time. This is
What,
before
what,
the
what, hold on. What movie did you get this mixed up with?
I used to get Clive Barker's Lord of Illusions mixed up with John Carpenter's In the Mouth of Madness.
Better.
Uh, yes, back in the day. Look, In the Mouth of Madness was already a fucking mouthful. So, but it's well, actually, I got to be honest. John Carpenter's In the Mouth of Madness is definitely it's got to be my favorite title of any of his movies. It has
Yeah,
to be.
it's a
Uh,
great title.
I'm not a big fan of Big Trouble in Little China, but that's a great title as well. But he's got some other than Halloween and The Thing, they're kind of just whatever titles. A lot of his movie, The Fog, also Prince of Darkness, great title. You know, he's got some good titles in there. Memoirs of an Invisible Man, Escape from New York, just some great fucking titles for John Carpenter. Well, we got to do a John Carpenter Assault on Precinct 13, another great title. Um, but we'll do a next year. We'll do a John Carpenter a love fest for you.
Perfect.
Just for you. Well, for John Carpenter. I don't know him personally, so I can't call him John. But John Carpenter. But anyway, for me, I gave this a little bit lower of a score, but I'm tougher on movies. I gave it a 77, but that doesn't mean it's bad. For me, if you look at our scores on a scale of like if you're in school, anything below a 60 is failing. Like I think anything in the 70s, it's a C. It's a C plus. It's maybe a little bit better than the C plus, but I think 77 is pretty decent. Um, Yeah, I like this movie. The effects. It sucks because of that one scene. You have to consider that one scene along with the great effects you get from the
Yeah,
practical aspect. But the acting on this one's really high for me because you get great performances from three or four solid actors, and the way the set design is in this is perfection. I love it. I love the feel of this movie. You really feel engrossed into this movie. And while
yeah,
I agree with you, it's not one I visit very often because it's really not top of mind. But when I do, I'm all in. Just like you said, you know. So
yeah.
yeah, 77. I think this is a good one. I think you should check it out on Max whenever you get a chance before they take it off there, because you know they'll probably take it off there. Otherwise, it's going to cost you money to rent. Which technically, if you're if you have a streaming service and you get rid of ads, you're paying for it anyway. Don't forget.
Is it not on Tubi anymore?
No, it's not. I checked before the show, and let me double check because it was like everything you had to rent from. Yeah. So Max is if you're subscribed. Hulu, you have to have an HBO subscription. Same thing with Prime. YouTube, same thing. $4 on Vudu, $4 on Redbox. So yeah, you got to pay for it if you don't have Max. And then of course it's out of print, so you won't be able to buy it on Blu-ray. I can watch it for free, but technically we have to pay for electricity, so it's not free. Nothing in this world is free.
That's
Anyway,
quite the stretch there, Reed Richards.
yeah. Ooh. Uh, overall score for the both of us an 81%. It's an absolute must watch in my opinion. I'm gonna say must watch. If Clive Barker directs three movies, he's got his own little weird trilogy of movies. You got Hellraiser, you've got Nightbreed, and then Lord of Illusions. I say watch it. If you've never seen this and you call yourself a Clive Barker fan, you're not until you watch this movie, in my opinion. What do you think?
I agree with that.
Yeah. It's a good movie. Definitely, I'm glad we got to talk a little bit about it. I don't think we would have ever gotten to talk about it on Discourse where we did talk about Nightbreed, but it was you were oddly in the minority as like the
I
only
was
one who
outnumbered.
yeah cared about it. Now Nightbreed's one that I will be honest, we'll probably get to it on this show at some point, I'm sure. But like maybe next December when we do have to do four movies that don't have anything to do with each other. But not, it's one of those movies that I gotta be in the mood for, and they're like I'm not even joking. Midian stuff really distracts me from the story and Craig Sheffer, you know, and the guy I can't ever remember anybody's names, but the guy who's like doesn't have skin on his head, and so you know you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, Narcissi.
Yeah, I love him, you know, and
Yeah,
there's a lot going on in that movie, and for me,
love
I
it.
think that's part of the issue, but that's for me. Um, yeah, so I think it's he's got kind of a fun little trilogy of movies. I mean, the Clive Barker trilogy, I'm calling it, even though they have nothing to do with each other. That's okay because John Carpenter made three movies that don't have almost anything to do with each other, and they're in a trilogy. You know, the was it the Thing, Prince of Darkness, and the Mouth of in the Mouth of Madness. I guess they're all end of the world type stuff, but you know,
Yeah, that's why he refers to them thematically
yeah,
as a trilogy, the Apocalypse trilogy.
yeah. I don't know what this theme would be, but it doesn't matter. I think the Lord of Illusions definitely needs to be seen by those who haven't seen it. Definitely worth watching. Check it out over the holiday season. Before we mosey on, I just wanted to again, this was one of the biggest years for the Horror Syndicate, and I want to thank everybody who has started following us. We passed over the original goal when we started the Horror Syndicate of 50,000 followers on Facebook. We got past our year goal for subscribers at 1,500. Um, it's been the last month's been honestly very very annoying, but it has nothing to do with the people who follow the Horror Syndicate. It has everything to do with GoDaddy, our hosting provider. But I really do appreciate everyone who does take their time out to comment, to react to the 5-star rating or any of the other posts I put up. I bet the last few days I've been so busy at work I have barely been able to post anything, and I apologize. But we have a group that you can go into that's done some good work in where you can start your own conversations, and it's the Horror Syndicate group. So I'm glad that we're growing, and I really appreciate everybody who comes out and follows us and takes the time out of their day, even if it's the 2 seconds to react to something. Thanks, I really do appreciate it. And Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, whatever it is you say. We will be back next week for a final episode of Horror Movie Massacre of the Year, and again, it's called Life Force. I like it. Seth, have you not seen this yet?
I have not watched it. It'll be a first time watch for me.
Good, 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 good. I can't wait. I definitely will watch that. I have 4 days off, starting on Saturday. I'm going to be writing a lot of comic stuff, so I got to sprinkle that in there. And somehow, some way, we got to get back. Superman 2 is like our white whale, our great white, like Moby Dick. We've been trying to talk about it for years. It's legit. We'll get to it. Unfortunately, I had a weird weekend this weekend. But if you follow the Rage of Razor show over there at Rage of Razor, that's what I'm talking about. We talk about superhero stuff. At least we got through all the DC Tomorrowverse stuff. At least we were able to get two solid episodes in.
Yeah, but it's like anytime we plan on like Superman 2 or Superman 1, like something always comes up like on either side of.
Maybe we shouldn't plan on it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, oh, let's do a show on Monday. And then we'll sneak up on Superman 2, like, gotcha, bitch. Maybe that's what we need to do. Because there's a lot of stuff I'd like to talk about. He wants us to send him movies, not anyway. I think I got a message from that same person earlier today. Anyway, The Hidden's a good one. Check it out. But remember, starting next year, we are starting with Child's Play. After we do a little list, we're going to do a top 10 rated movies by us, our combined score, I think. Is that what we're going to do? Do you remember? I talked about it in short.
Yeah, something to do with our slash scores. Yeah.
Which would probably be like John Carpenter's Halloween. Got it that time. A Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th Part 4. So because this past year was a huge year. We covered the Friday the 13th series, the Scream series, the Elm Street, Halloween, Texas Chainsaw. It was a big year. All that stuff. What's that?
So Silent Night, Deadly Night.
That was last year, but yeah, we covered Silent Night, Deadly Night as well in one episode, which will be posted up on our Facebook page in the next couple of days because everybody loves Christmas movies. I haven't even watched a Christmas horror movie yet this year. Have you?
Yeah, 2 weekends ago, I think.
What was it?
I showed my little brother and my friend Josh Christmas Bloody Christmas.
Okay. That's the newer one, right?
Yeah, with the Terminator Santa Claus.
Yeah, that's a cool movie. It's on. I think is it still on Shudder?
Yes, I believe so. But I got the Blu-ray, so I just put it.
Nice. Okay. Yeah. So that's one to check out. One that I would say, people know about Krampus. People know about Black Christmas. Silent Night, Deadly Night. One that I feel. First of all, I would also say Silent Night, Deadly Night 5 is totally worth watching for Christmas. It's weird. It's not the best of them, but it's better than 2, 3, and 4 in my opinion.
That's the toy maker, right?
Yes, the toy maker. Yeah. But one that I always like to talk about, and let me see if it's streaming, is Christmas Horror Story. If you have not seen that one, it's an anthology of sorts. And there's this great clash between Santa and the Krampus. And the Krampus looks really cool. I think, first of all, the movie Krampus is really cool. And I don't like the design of Krampus at all in that movie. He looks totally like Halloween mask and stuff. And which I guess is what they were going for. But the Krampus in this one, it looks really cool. It's on Tubi. And likely it's on Shudder. But A Christmas Horror Story, really cool movie. Santa versus Krampus. Check it out for this holiday season. I will be watching probably one of the Black Christmases, not the 2019 one, because I do like the '06 one. And to be honest, I'm not a huge fan of the 1970 whatever Black Christmas movie. I've never been a fan of that one. It's kind of boring, in my opinion. But I know I'll be watching a couple of them this weekend. I got to wrap presents. Are you ready for Christmas, Seth?
I gotta wrap presents for Amber. She's the last one left.
Is there a special present you're wrapping? Like a fistful of dollars?
Yes. No, I'm not gonna wrap what you're talking about, but what was I gonna say?
I don't know. But you look frozen, and then you're not frozen.
Oh, no, I forget.
Okay.
I'll probably know. Like I've been a wicked like comic book mood, and like so I've been watching like a lot of like superhero stuff, but like and then the Tales from the Crypt Christmas episode.
Oh yeah.
Shit like that. So
yeah, that's
hopefully
a
I'll
good
get
one.
to them that this weekend.
Yeah, Seth actually is joining the Unparalleled Comics team, my comic book company, as a comic book writer. So, yeah, watch all that stuff. I'm same thing, man. I've been watching comic book movies like going to bed, or if I'm doing something else. That's the same thing with me between animated and live action. A lot of DC stuff, Justice League, the animated series, and so, yeah, I'm right there with you, man. Can't watch horror all the time. Yeah. But anyway, that's all we got for tonight. We got one more episode. Like I said, penultimate episode was tonight. We got one more episode of Horror Movie Massacre for 2023. And then we'll ring in the new year with a list, because you know what? Seth and I fucking love listing things. Period. We just do. And we're going to do one. So anyway, have a great night. Check out this movie, Lord of Illusions. I don't think you'll be sorry. If you are, then sorry. Any last words, Seth?
Now I have a machine gun. Ho, ho, ho.
Okay, we'll end on that note.